Hey everybody, welcome back to the Reflection Project. I'm your host, Bree, here with a new co-host, Eli.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. Our first guest.
Hi, how are you?
I never thought this was going to happen. I'm really looking forward to this. I really didn't. I mean, I know even when I was getting ready to make the podcast happen, you had all these ideas and we had all these conversations about, oh my gosh, just all these contributions that you could make, and I have been looking forward to it.
I was just being a smart aleck because I was like, wow, you say that like I'm not in your guys' basement every other weekend.
Okay, for the record, we have a bar in our basement, so not like we're just holding him hostage.
I'm chained to the radiator. You can't see it, but there's a chain that goes all the way over there. There's a movie about it, but in that movie, I'm portrayed by a white woman.
I could die.
A blonde white lady, yes.
We were thinking of starting a new segment, Tipsy Talks with Eli. We've had a couple, and we thought it would help kind of, I don't know, ease, not really tension, just kind of set the precedence of how we usually have our conversations. Usually we have a couple beers, and then we go venting and talking about our lives and our experience.
It always rabbit holes, and the conversation can start on Disneyland, and we can wind up in Canada.
I actually saw on social media, do you know the difference between Disneyland and Disney World? Do you ever confuse the two?
I know one is in Florida and one's in California.
So Disneyland has LA in it for Disneyland.
Nuh-uh.
And then Disney World has ORL for Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah, for Orlando. I just learned that this week.
The things you learn on Tipsy Talks with Eli.
No, I found that out this week. So,
coming soon to a podcast near you.
So yeah, we have Eli. Eli's been a friend of ours for a while. Met through a trivia event through work and kind of just hit things off. This guy has a killer sense of humor, by the way. So
I'm not funny.
If you're hanging out with Eli, you're laughing. Absolutely. So, mental health journeys and where you've been, where you're at. We're definitely winging this whole episode, by the way. There was no planning. There was a quick, 2-minute discussion before we just started this.
And go time. Showtime.
So we wanna learn about you. What are you wanting to tell the world? I mean, we started off, my episode and the intro to Ryan of, our family dynamic, what growing up was like, and then just kind of coming to find out us as who we are as individuals through our mental health journeys, coming to self-awareness and things like that. So, I'll go ahead and start. What was your family dynamic like growing up?
So I grew up in a single parent household. My mom raised me. I was very close with my mom's side of the family, obviously. Until recently, I connected with my older sister. I have two older sisters, stepsisters, in Vermont, and I'm not sure where the other one is, but from my dad's side. Growing up, my mom's side of the family, we were all really close. I had my grandma, my grandpa, my older brother. I was the second son out of my mom's third marriage. And my older brother was 18 years older. Well, he is 18 years older than I am. So there was
That's a big age gap.
Yeah.
Wow.
What did Johnny Depp say in Rango? I guess Mama had a very active social life.
Love it.
No, but so my older brother is 18 years older than I am. So that was kind of a weird dynamic,
Yeah.
until you get to a certain age where you're not battling against your older sibling,
right?
Because growing up, the older sibling's always going to be bigger and tougher and bigger and badder, and then one day it snaps and it's like, oh, you're cool. I like you.
Yeah. I mean, even just like trying to picture that age gap. I mean, I've got older, half siblings and step siblings, but yeah, like you just mentioned, just having that huge age gap.
Yeah, so I didn't always like my older brother. I mean, what younger sibling does
Oh,
all
of
the
course.
time.
Yeah.
But I was always my big brother. I remember he was always there for me, but I mean, he still put a hurting on me every now and again.
Oh, yeah.
I remember on his wedding day, I was out playing on the neighbor's trampoline, and I wound up hanging upside down from the trampoline. I mean, I was like young.
Yeah.
I was little, and the kid who was with me, I was like, go in there and go get my brother. And they're like, who's your brother? And I was like, the groom. And so my brother in his wedding tux comes like sprinting outside and finds me hanging upside down from this trampoline and like picks me up, dusts me off, and he's like, you're fine, but we got to get back inside and we're cutting cake.
Oh, like, big brother stuff. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, he's always been, I mean, he doesn't show it a lot because he's not in touch with his feelings very much. Yeah. He's always been big and gruff and tough. But he's always been very, like, protective-ish of me. And that in bigger moments in my life came to a forefront for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so brother, his wife, I got a niece and nephew on my mom's side. And I mean, we were the typical family that, we always went out to eat on Sundays, and that was family time. Sundays and Super Bowls, those were our big powwows. And so yeah, it was pretty cool. My brother stepped in because he was older than me. Stepped in, and him and Grandpa and then my uncles played dad, where I didn't have a dad, so I learned a lot about wrenching on cars, about old cars, new cars, how to work on stuff, how to do stuff around the house, how to work.
At least you had that influence, though. I mean, there's a lot of, just kids or just individuals in general who don't have either or parental figure in their life, and you at least had that.
Yeah, and then I learned stuff from Grandma, too. Right. Like, I learned stuff from my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law taught me how to, I was balancing a checkbook when I was 9.
Get out of here.
No, my sister, she is a math whiz. I owe everything to her for getting me through high school algebra.
So with the checkbook, obviously we're talking about like mental health stigmas, but let's be real, checkbooks. We're living in 2024.
Yeah.
Do you carry a checkbook?
No, absolutely not. I have a debit card.
When I was 21, I, with the Army, went to Puerto Rico, and the battalion commander and sergeant major saw me with a checkbook in my wallet at the bar at 20 years old.
That's awesome.
And I've never felt so much judgment. I mean, I felt a lot in my life, don't get me wrong, but like carrying a checkbook, I don't carry one now.
Not too many people can write a check anymore.
Who accepts checks anymore?
I don't know. Most places have a no out-of-state check signs on there,
which is why
behind
it's
the
me
gas station.
Anyway. But okay, so learn to write a check at 9.
Yeah,
very valuable.
Grandma taught me how to sew. I can crochet. I can knit. Why am I telling you any of this stuff? Yeah.
You learned amazing things from your grandmother. This is part of your journey. This is important. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I learned a lot of like home stuff from the women in my family.
That's still great, though.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, did you ever think from time to time, like, I have all these women in my life. Why don't I have this father figure, or why don't I have any other sort of male figure in my life?
So, just readjust there for a second. So I mean, I didn't ever think too much about it, because I mean, looking at kids my age, like everybody had their dad.
Right.
You'd see kids outside playing football with their dad, playing catch with their dad, stuff like that. And it was in the back of my mind, but I mean, Grandpa played football with me.
No.
My brother definitely took the chance to throw a football in my face a couple times.
As they do.
There's plenty of that. I learned how to shoot guns from my grandpa and my brother. Like, I had all the stuff.
Yeah.
But like, there was times where I was like, all right, why don't you tell me about my dad?
Yeah.
And that in itself was kind of it was kind of a weird situation because my mom was very, oh, you want to know about your dad? Well, I'll call him right now. You want me to call your dad? Okay, I'll call him right now. You want to talk to him? Uh, no, that's okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
What?
yeah. And so yeah, if I asked anything about my dad, she'd get kind of defensive about it. And I wonder if maybe, well, I mean, I know the answer now, but
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe she hadn't made peace with those feelings about my dad leaving.
Probably not. Yeah.
But I never knew the guy.
Right.
So really, I didn't have any feelings about it too much. I just never had a dad.
Yeah.
That was it. I didn't know any better. I didn't know any other. So.
Do you think, like, how much do you think it would alter your life if your dad was still around or would have been around?
So not to get too deep into all that, it would have been it definitely would have been different from some of the things my mom has told me and some of the things that my dad said he would have done if he was in touch with me.
Right.
Like if he was around in my life, he would have taught me this, that, and the other, and it wasn't always good things he was promising, like when I turned 18 kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I definitely probably wouldn't be where I am now if he was in the picture.
Yeah. I think, I mean, you know, Ryan and I have talked about in our previous episodes that every decision, every choice we have ever made, everything that we've ever encountered has gotten us to be where we are right now.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
But that doesn't stop the thoughts or what, you know, what if any part of that journey was altered in any way?
Yeah, I've had some talks with my sister, and I had questions because, you know, I never felt comfortable asking my mom any of these questions. And so when I got in touch with my older sister, I've had many talks with my older sister, and I was like, what do you think about this? Would dad be proud of me where I am now? What do you think would have happened if dad was in the picture? And so I got some of the answers that I was looking for. And, you know, they always say the truth kind of hurts sometimes. So there's a lot of, I could see that, but it still kind of sucks kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So growing up, do you think that not having your dad around, do you think that hindered anything? Or do you think that you were just as good or successful or well behaved as if your dad wasn't there? It's a tricky one.
That's a multi-part question.
It is, sorry.
Well behaved? No, it's fine. Well behaved? Absolutely not. I was not a well behaved child at all already. And if dad would have been there, from the things I've heard about my dad, I would have been worse.
Oh.
My mom she still tells this story because I'm still this way now. It's like, oh, you're gonna tell me not to do something? Now I want to do it more. She tells the story.
Yeah.
She was reading me a book, and it was a picture book, children's book, and she was flipping the pages, and then I was a baby, and she was holding me, and I was looking at the pictures, and I got bored of the page we were on, and I put my hand on the page, and she looked at me and said, "Do not." And I kept eye contact with her and just crumpled the page in my fist and ripped the page out of the book. She still tells that story, and that is, I mean, there's a lot of times in my life where I have been like, oh, no?
Okay.
Watch this.
So you think that would still be in effect? Okay.
I don't know if it would have been in effect. I probably would have had a little bit stronger discipline. But in that being said, in the flip side of it, my dad probably could have made me a little bit more ornery than I am now.
I was gonna say, I mean, rebellion's rebellion, but
yeah, you're gonna.
And I have actually thought about this. Rebellion. Do you think rebellion could be worse in different circumstances, like what you grew up in, or do you think rebellion's rebellion?
Well, I mean, if you look at what rebellion is, it's just not doing what you're told. So I didn't have oh no, dad's gonna find out versus oh no, mom's gonna find, I didn't have okay, well, if mom finds out, it's okay. If dad finds out, I'm screwed. but I had my mom's going to find out. Mom is mom and dad.
Right.
So, like, I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
And I've got both consequences, but I still, if I want to do what I want to do and you tell me not to,
growing
I'm
up,
going to do it anyway. If we're talking rebellion.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Growing up, do you think, like, as you got older, like through your high school and post high school days, do you think that kind of all sits the same?
I mean, in high school, so it was kind of a weird situation in high school. I wasn't, like, all my friends were sneaking out of the house, and like, it was funny. It kind of saved my bacon because I wasn't doing all that.
Yeah.
And one of my friends called me. I had the phone on speakerphone. It was my best friend's sister. And she was like, "Oh, we saw you out on Main Street last night." Well, Mom's room was closer to the door growing up than my room was, and we had hardwood floors. And so,
you can hear everything.
You step on a hardwood floor and you get that. Like, she would have been able to, and my mom did not sleep through the night at all. Well, I mean, she did, but, like if I breathed wrong, she'd be, like, knocking on my door. Like, "Are you okay in there?" Like, "I'm fine." Like, if I, went to the bathroom or something, the floor creaked, she was, like, up, like, looking around. So that actually saved me because I kept to myself and stayed in and stuff like that. But yeah, she was like, "Oh yeah, we saw you on Main Street last night." And I was like, "No, you didn't. We were redoing the floors and there was no way to the door, and my mom would have heard me had I stepped on that floor, and the floor would have creaked."
That's crazy as older houses, because same thing, like with my siblings, my dad and my stepmom bought a different house. It was a much older Victorian home, which is a gorgeous home. But same thing, like they were carpeted floors, but they were so loud. And we were like at the front of the house, my stepsister and I, and with like a big bay window. And so like any sneaking out, we could see like the neighborhood from that window. So a neighbor would have saw something anyways. Yeah. But we just, with the loudness, and the stairs were the loudest in the entire house. And I remember the dining room. And there was no such thing as sneaking out. We snuck out once our sophomore year of high school, or it was either going into sophomore year or junior year. We got in so much trouble because we did it at a friend's. That's the one and only time that we ever snuck out, because of those old ass houses with the creaky ass floors.
Got them. Ladies and gentlemen, we got them.
Kept us out of so much trouble, but at the same time, you're like, I'm thankful, but...
Yeah. You missed out on some memories.
Yeah.
In high school, like, around the time I was a senior, I started going out more and making friends. I finished high school while I was doing college. So I was down in Tucson at that point.
Okay.
And I had all these friends from college, because I was like, all right, yeah, now I got friends. And I definitely had times where I was like, "Hey, can I stay out at Moose's house and, do whatever?" Nope. You have to be home by 9 or something like that. I hated the word curfew. It's such a cheesy line.
Oh, yes.
The word curfew, your time to be home is 9 o'clock. Your curfew. Get out of here.
I feel that.
But no, I'd be like, come on. I'd be like, can I get an extension? Can I stay out longer? And like, yeah, usually it would be kind of cool, but that definitely was more. But I mean, I was in college. You explore a lot in college.
Yeah, so you were in college and you had to be home by.
I had a 9 o'clock.
Oh my word! I mean,
college.
We had that in high school, like senior year of high school. But my parents were like, "If you're gonna live in this house, you're gonna have a curfew."
Oh,
and
I'm
like, I mean, I get it, wanting to know, like where we're at or what we're doing or if we're gonna be home and when. I get the accountability piece of it, but it's like, I'm young adult now.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not a grown up, but I'm not probably the most responsible adult. I'm figuring out life, but like, let me figure it out.
Like I said, I was a college in high school, or I was a senior in high school, and I was just starting college.
Yeah.
So I was 16. So I was still under my mom's roof, kind of thing. Right. So I wasn't quite a young adult yet. But the funny thing about that was, thinking about your question on rebellion, Mom and I always had this rule where if you don't want to do something, use me as your excuse. I don't care. I'll be the bad guy kind of thing, which was one of the cool things about my mom. But she always liked to cut me off when I would say things that would shock her. And so the night I turned 18, my friends called me. And it's like 9 o'clock at night. We used to go out in the rocks and go take our Jeeps and 4Runners and stuff and go play out there. It's 9 o'clock at night. I got work in the morning. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
My mom and I are in the store, and my buddies call me, and they're like, yo, we're going out, and we're going to go rock crawling. Are you in or out? I was like, I don't know, guys. It's like, hang on. And I went over to Mom in the next aisle, and I was like, hey, so the boys want to go out four-wheeling. They want to go rock crawl. And she was like, absolutely not, son. You have work in the morning, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And I was just like, so I guess I'm going rock crawling. And I told her, I was like, well, I didn't want to go. And we had this rule of, if you don't want to do something, tell me and I'll be the bad guy. But since you jumped to that conclusion, I guess I'm going rock crawling with my friends. I'll see you. And I went out rock crawling until 2 a.m.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was, I had to draw that line. All right, I'm an adult now. I'm 18 now. I guess I'm going.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of put my foot into the independent puddle.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, what would you say growing up, or even you mentioned up through your college days, like, what do you think your mental health was at? Like, if thinking back now, what do you think, or what do you think you felt?
Oh, it was not good at all. I mean, I was a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
I had always had somebody telling me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was dealing with that. Plus, when I moved to Tucson, I left all my friends. I left everybody behind.
Yeah.
And some people that were in my life that I thought were going to be forever disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to adapt to all that. And I ended up moving home, trying to find this sense of who I was, because in my hometown, I knew who I was.
Right.
And then I moved out there.
Made a different life for yourself.
And so once I'm out here, the world keeps turning.
Yeah.
And so life went on without me while I was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I don't feel at home in Tucson.
Right.
I think I need to go home. So I moved home after college, which I blew away a lot of opportunities out there because I just didn't feel right out there. And then I got home. Now I'm home, but everyone else is in college and starting their lives.
Right.
And it's like, what about me? And so I kind of, almost like I don't know if is it called disassociation kind of thing, or is it like like a imposter syndrome thing? Like
I think you were trying to refamiliarize yourself with something. I mean, your life, what you knew.
Yeah.
And then
trying to go back to what I knew.
Yeah. And then it turns out it wasn't what you knew anymore.
It was all gone.
Yeah.
So when I left, everything changed when I was back home.
Yeah.
Like when I moved home, nothing was the same.
Right.
And so then I kind of was lost for a long time.
Right.
Actually, it was not the home that I had left.
Yeah.
It was different.
How did you cope with that then? Like, so when you came back, did you go back to school? Did you get a job? Did you reconnect with friends, or how did that work?
So I moved home. I got my first house. And I just kind of was going through the motions. I got a job. I worked. I ended up going to the bar at 19. I started doing that and meeting a bunch of people, and I was like, I'm living my life. And, you know, just kind of tried to figure out who I was, because I didn't know who I was.
Right.
Because in Tucson was a different me than when I left. And then when I came back, I was a different me from when I left.
Yeah.
From when I left there. So I was kind of in that in between of being a teenager to being a young adult.
Yeah.
Still, because I had been a teenager, but I didn't know how to transition into being an adult.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I don't think anyone really knows.
Yeah.
When that transition or how that transition works.
It was really, it was trying. For sure, because I was trying to figure out who I was and grow at the same time, and I was just trying to make it, and it only got harder from there.
Okay, so what about now? Do you think that you've grown? How?
Oh yeah, so I am not who I was when I was 19.
Yeah.
Anymore. I have completely, like, things I never thought that I would ever. I mean, I didn't think I'd be where I am today when I was 19. Like, I had no plan. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know what I was going to do with my degree when I got out of school.
That's fair.
I ended up not doing anything like what I wanted.
What was your degree in?
I went to school for culinary.
Oh, well, yeah. I knew that. Yeah.
So I got a culinary arts degree,
and now what do you do?
Now I work on airplanes.
It just every time I think about it, I'm like,
we got to think.
Okay.
I went to culinary school, worked food for like a year, and then after that, heavy equipment operator, truck driver, heavy haul truck driver, and then road crew, bartender, DJ, and then back to truck driving, overhead. Oh, sorry, that's a company. Can't name drop a company.
No.
I worked on garage doors, and then here I am working on airplanes.
Do you think you found your niche? Like, do you think you found something that this is it for you?
I feel more comfortable in what I'm doing now than I have ever done because, I mean, it always felt like stepping stones or, oh yeah, this would look good on a, as a young man, you're trying to think for the future, and it was always for me. It was, this would look good on a resume.
Yeah.
Like this, I'm not going to be here forever. But it'll look good on a resume.
Yeah. I've never met, so I've worked so many different jobs as well, and I don't think I've ever met anyone like me that has worked so many jobs or done so many things, and then finally you're just set, like, in your career or found something long-term where you're like, this is it for me. Like, I've never met anybody else that has, like, you started listing off jobs, and I'm like, oh my God. Same.
The funny thing about it was I knew I wasn't happy where I was. And I kept trying to get out, and I was like, this job will make me some pocket change. This will get me by, but this isn't what I want to do forever. But then people would say stuff like, oh, what do you want to do? And what's your 5-year plan or 4-year plan or whatever? And I had no idea. I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing, but I knew I didn't want to be stuck in my hometown forever.
Absolutely. I always ask, especially with career relative discussion, do you see yourself retiring in aviation?
I would like to. I'm putting a lot into it, and you get out what you put into something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm giving her the beans. I'm burning the boats.
I love it.
We are going all the way with this. So.
For sure. Well, do you have anything else that you would like to share about your journey, or any advice to, young men or women that are going through or have gone through what you have?
Not to quote Tyler Durden from Fight Club, which we don't talk about, by the way. We don't talk about Fight Club. But not to quote that movie or anything, but he really made an impact in some of the harder times of my life that I went through. A lot of tough, big feelings that I felt in a lot of really tough times. Everybody's always like, oh yeah, you hit rock bottom. I feel like I'm at rock bottom, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, once you're at rock bottom, you're at rock bottom. You can only go up. It's only once you feel like you've lost everything that you're free to do anything. So, and that I really took to heart, because there was times where I was pretty low in all of that, that we didn't get into. But there was some times, there were some very low points, and I was like, I just can't get any lower. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I started fighting my way back. And so gotta keep going. But I mean, once once you got nothing holding you back.
Okay, so you brought up that you have lower. Do you think that you would ever come onto the podcast? Is that a part of your life that you don't ever plan to revisit?
No. I mean, you get over things by talking about them, and they're not. Life is about stories and scars, and nobody likes getting them, but they're with you forever.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, we can talk about that for sure. I will gladly come back on the show.
Awesome. Well, if anybody would like to see Eli come back on, I know I sure do.
If you got any questions, leave them in the comments below.
Yeah, absolutely. We also were discussing tonight with Ryan about doing a part 1 and part 2 of mental health in the holidays. And so while that was going to be this episode with Ryan, I thought it'd be a fun surprise. I mean, everyone was kind of anticipating, Ryan and I, talking about, just like I said, mental health in the holidays, but having you come on and making this plan, this was fun. And so we plan on doing possibly a part 1 and 2 and having you come on again. I can't wait for our listeners to just hear you and see you, and I can't wait to have you back.
Yeah. Hey, we got plenty. There's plenty of Uncle Eli to go around.
Love it. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else for our listeners?
Tune in next week to find out what happens next.
Well, you can catch us on YouTube and Spotify at The Reflection Project, and we will talk to you soon.